My friends, if I told you that your life will completely change not by doing something big, dramatic, or extraordinary, but by improving just 1% every single day, would you believe me? My friends, we often wait for miracles. We wait for the perfect moment, the perfect mood, the perfect plan, the perfect opportunity. We say from tomorrow, I will wake up early. From next month, I will start saving money. From next year, I will become a better version of myself. And while we are busy waiting for that perfect time, life quietly moves ahead without us. Here is a simple truth. Big transformations don't come from big actions. They come from tiny actions repeated consistently. A drop of water falling on a rock does not break it in one day, but over time, that same drop carves a hole through the stone. Not because the drop is powerful, but because it is consistent. That is the power of the 1% rule. The 1% rule says, don't try to change your life in one day. Just become 1% better today than you were yesterday. Read one page. Walk for 10 minutes. Save a small amount. Speak one kind word. Learn one new thing. Avoid one bad habit. Forgive one person. Control one negative thought. Just 1%. It sounds small. It sounds insignificant. It sounds almost foolish. But my friends, if you improve 1% every day for a year, you won't be 365% better. You will be nearly 37 times better than where you started. That is the magic of small daily progress. Most people fail not because they lack talent, intelligence, or opportunity. They fail because they underestimate the power of small steps and overestimate the power of big leaps. We love the idea of transformation, but we hate the discipline of tiny improvements. Today, I want to share with you how this simple 1% rule can slowly, silently, and surely transform your health, your mindset, your career, your relationships, and your entire life. Not in a dramatic way, but in a permanent way. My friends, have you noticed how excited we become when we decide to change our lives? There is a sudden rush of motivation, a wave of determination, and a powerful declaration. From tomorrow, everything will be different. We make bold promises to ourselves. We decide to wake up at 5 a.m., exercise for an hour, stop eating unhealthy food, read daily, save money, control our anger, and become a completely new person overnight. But something very interesting happens after 2 or 3 days. The excitement fades. The alarm feels heavier. The plan feels harder. The motivation quietly disappears. And we return to our old routine, wondering why we lack discipline, why we lack willpower, why we can't stick to our goals. The truth, my friends, is not that we lack discipline. The truth is that we start with steps that are too big for our mind to accept. The mind is like a child. If you suddenly ask a child to carry a heavy load, the child resists. But if you give the child something small to carry, the child cooperates. In the same way, when you give your mind a massive change, it panics. It feels pressure. It feels discomfort. And naturally, it looks for escape. This is why big goals often fail. It is not the goal that is wrong. It is the size of the first step that defeats us. When you say, from tomorrow, I will run 5 kilometers, your mind immediately calculates the effort, the tiredness, the time, and the discomfort. Before you even begin, you are mentally exhausted. But if you say, from tomorrow, I will just wear my shoes and walk for 5 minutes, the mind does not resist. It says, this is easy. I can do this. And once you start walking for 5 minutes, something beautiful happens. Most days you will end up walking longer. But even if you don't, you still win. Because you kept your promise to yourself. Many people don't fail because they are lazy. They fail because they are overambitious in the beginning. We want immediate transformation. We want dramatic change. We want visible results quickly. But life does not work that way. Nature does not work that way. A tree does not grow in a day. A body does not become fit in a week. A skill is not mastered in a month. Yet we expect ourselves to become a new person in a few days. And when that doesn't happen, we become disappointed. We start doubting ourselves. We say, I am not consistent. I am not capable. But the reality is, we never gave ourselves a fair chance. We burdened ourselves with expectations that were too heavy to carry. Imagine deciding to read 30 pages every day when you haven't read a book in years. The first day feels exciting. The second day feels difficult. By the third day, reading feels like punishment. And soon you stop completely. But if you had decided to read just one page daily, it would have felt almost effortless. One page is so small that skipping it would feel silly. This is the secret. When the step is tiny, the mind has no excuse to refuse. Big steps create fear. Small steps create momentum. And momentum is more important than motivation. Motivation comes and goes. Momentum stays. Once you build the habit of doing something daily, even in a very small way, it becomes part of your routine. You no longer depend on how you feel. You simply do it because it is what you do. Another reason big goals fail is because they rely on sudden lifestyle change. And the mind hates sudden change. It loves comfort. It loves familiarity. It wants things to remain as they are. So when you try to change everything at once, the mind feels threatened. It feels like its comfort is being attacked. And it fights back through procrastination, excuses, and laziness. But when the change is so small that it doesn't disturb your comfort, the mind does not feel threatened. It slowly adapts. And before it realizes, the small change becomes a new habit. People often say, I will completely change my diet from tomorrow. And they remove everything they enjoy. Within a few days, they feel deprived. They feel frustrated. And they go back to their old eating habits, sometimes worse than before. But if they simply reduced one unhealthy item daily, the change would have been sustainable. Sustainability is more powerful than intensity. You don't need intensity that lasts 3 days. You need consistency that lasts 3 years. This is where most people misunderstand success. They think success comes from doing extraordinary things occasionally. In reality, success comes from doing ordinary things regularly. Waking up 10 minutes earlier daily is more powerful than waking up at 5 a.m. for 2 days and then quitting. Saving a small amount daily is more effective than planning to save a huge amount and never doing it. Practicing a skill for 10 minutes daily is better than practicing for 2 hours once a week. Small actions reduce resistance. Reduced resistance increases consistency. And consistency creates results. When you start small, you also remove the pressure of perfection. You don't feel guilty if you cannot do something big. You feel satisfied because you did something small. That satisfaction builds confidence. And confidence pushes you to do a little more the next day. This is how real change begins. Quietly, gently, almost invisibly. Not with loud promises, not with dramatic announcements, but with tiny daily commitments that are so simple, you cannot fail. And my friends, when you cannot fail, you do not quit. My friends, life does not change in giant moments. It changes in small, repeated moments that seem too ordinary to matter. We often ignore these moments because they do not look powerful. They do not look impressive. They do not give instant results. But these small moments carry a hidden force that slowly shapes our future without making any noise. Think about placing a single coin into a jar today. That one coin feels insignificant. You may even feel that it is pointless. But if you repeat this simple act every day, the jar begins to fill. And one day, you will be surprised at how much has accumulated from something that once felt meaningless. This is how the compounding effect works in life. Compounding is not loud, it is silent, it is patient. And it rewards those who respect small actions. When you eat one healthy meal, nothing changes. When you take a 10-minute walk, nothing changes. When you read one page of a book, nothing changes. And because nothing changes immediately, we assume these actions are useless. We underestimate their value because we measure everything by instant results. But the truth is, small actions are like seeds. A seed does not show results the next day. For many days, it looks like nothing is happening. But beneath the soil, something powerful is taking place. Roots are forming. Strength is building. And one day, the plant appears above the surface. The same happens with your habits. One positive thought today may not change your mindset, but one positive thought daily begins to rewire how you think. One act of patience may not change your personality, but practicing patience every day slowly changes how you respond to situations. One small act of discipline may not change your life, but repeated daily, it reshapes your character. We often quit because we cannot see the progress. But progress is happening where we cannot see it. Imagine someone learning a new skill, like playing an instrument. The first day, the sound is unpleasant. The second day, it is still unpleasant. After a week, there is slight improvement, but nothing impressive. If the person expects quick mastery, they will quit. But if they continue practicing for a few minutes daily, one day they will realize they are playing smoothly without even knowing when the improvement happened. That is compounding. The effort of yesterday joins the effort of today, and together they create a result tomorrow. This is why consistency beats intensity. Intensity gives you quick excitement. Consistency gives you lasting results. If you study for 10 hours one day and then don't study for the next 5 days, you lose momentum. But if you study for 1 hour every day, your mind remains connected to the learning process. Your understanding deepens naturally. Your memory strengthens without pressure. Small actions, when repeated, begin to stack upon each other. They don't disappear. They accumulate. Every healthy choice you make adds to your health. Every disciplined action adds to your discipline. Every positive thought adds to your mindset. Every kind word adds to your relationships. Nothing is wasted. Even when you feel that your effort is too small to matter, it is quietly adding to your future. Many people think success comes from one big breakthrough moment. But in reality, success is built long before that moment arrives. The breakthrough is only the visible result of thousands of invisible small actions done in the past. A person who is confident today did not wake up confident one morning. They built that confidence through many small moments of courage, small improvements in communication, small acts of self-belief repeated over time. A person who is financially stable did not become stable overnight. They built that stability through small savings, careful spending, and disciplined habits practiced for years. A person who is calm and peaceful did not suddenly find peace. They practiced small acts of patience, forgiveness, and understanding daily until it became their nature. This is the beauty of compounding. It works whether you notice it or not. But here is something very important to understand. Compounding works in both directions. Just as small positive actions build a powerful future, small negative actions also accumulate. One day of laziness seems harmless. One unhealthy meal seems harmless. One negative thought seems harmless. But repeated daily, they also compound into poor health, a negative mindset, and a lack of discipline. So the question is not whether compounding is happening. The question is, in which direction is it happening for you? Your daily 1% choices decide your future more than your big once-in-a-while decisions. You don't need to do extraordinary things to transform your life. You only need to make slightly better choices every day. When you improve by just 1%, that improvement joins the previous 1%. And slowly, a powerful version of you is created without stress, without pressure, and without dramatic effort. One day, you will look back and realize that you are healthier, wiser, calmer, and more successful. And you won't be able to point to a single day when this transformation happened, because it didn't happen in a single day. It happened through the quiet, patient, invisible power of small actions compounding over time. My friends, the greatest change the 1% rule brings is not in your schedule, not in your body, not in your bank account, but in your mindset. Because before your life changes outside, something must change inside. And that inner change does not happen through pressure, fear, or force. It happens through small, manageable victories that slowly reshape how you see yourself and the world around you. When you focus on becoming 1% better every day, you stop feeling overwhelmed by how far you have to go. You no longer look at the mountain and feel discouraged. You simply look at the next step. And when the mind sees only the next small step, it relaxes. It stops panicking. It stops creating excuses. Overwhelm is one of the biggest enemies of progress. We often look at successful people and compare their chapter 20 with our chapter 1. We see how far behind we are, and this comparison creates pressure. That pressure turns into self-doubt, and self-doubt leads to inaction. But when your only goal is to be slightly better than yesterday, comparison loses its power. You are no longer competing with the world. You are simply improving your own yesterday. This shift is powerful. It takes you from anxiety to clarity. You wake up in the morning not thinking, I have so much to fix in my life, but thinking, what small thing can I do better today? That question is gentle. It is friendly. It does not scare you. And because it does not scare you, you are more likely to act. Slowly, your relationship with growth changes. Growth no longer feels like a burden. It starts to feel like a daily practice. Another beautiful transformation happens in the way you talk to yourself. Many people are very harsh with themselves. They constantly feel they are not doing enough, not achieving enough, not progressing fast enough. This negative self-talk drains energy and motivation. But when you practice the 1% rule, you begin to acknowledge small wins. You say, I walked for 10 minutes today, I controlled my anger in one situation today, I read one page today. These small acknowledgements build self-respect. And self-respect is the foundation of a strong mindset. You stop seeing yourself as someone who fails to keep promises. Instead, you see yourself as someone who keeps small promises daily. That changes how you feel about yourself. You begin to trust yourself more. And when you trust yourself, confidence grows naturally. Confidence does not come from big achievements. It comes from keeping small commitments repeatedly. When you say you will do something small and you do it, your mind registers this as reliability. Over time, this reliability becomes belief. You start believing, if I decide something, I will do it. This belief is far more powerful than motivation. Motivation depends on mood. Belief depends on experience. And the 1% rule gives you daily experiences of success. You also begin to develop patience. In a world that wants instant results, practicing small daily improvement teaches you to respect the process. You understand that meaningful change takes time. You stop rushing. You stop expecting miracles overnight. This patience reduces frustration. And when frustration reduces, peace increases. Your mindset shifts from result-focused to process-focused. Instead of constantly worrying about where you want to be, you start valuing what you are doing today. You begin to enjoy the journey. And when you enjoy the journey, consistency becomes easier. Many people quit because they are too attached to the outcome. When results don't appear quickly, they feel disappointed. But when you focus on daily improvement, the result becomes secondary. The action becomes primary. This is a very calm and powerful way to live. The 1% rule also changes how you handle failure. Earlier, if you missed one big goal, you felt like a complete failure. But now, if you miss a small step one day, you simply return the next day. There is no guilt. There is no drama. There is no self-criticism. You understand that missing one day does not destroy your progress because your progress is built on many small days. This mindset removes the fear of failure. And when fear of failure goes away, you become more willing to try new things. You become more courageous. Not because you are suddenly fearless, but because you know that even small efforts matter. Gradually, you stop seeking perfection. You start seeking progress. And this is a very liberating shift. Perfection makes you wait. Progress makes you start. Perfection makes you overthink. Progress makes you act. Perfection makes you anxious. Progress makes you peaceful. The 1% rule teaches you that you don't need to be perfect to move forward. You just need to be slightly better than yesterday. This reduces mental pressure. And when mental pressure reduces, creativity increases. Energy increases. Positivity increases. You begin to see possibilities instead of problems. You also start becoming more mindful. Because when your goal is small daily improvement, you pay attention to your actions. You become aware of your habits. You observe your thoughts. You notice your behavior. This awareness itself is a huge mindset shift. You stop living on autopilot. You start living consciously. And slowly, Without realizing it, you become a person who is calmer, more patient, more confident, and more disciplined, not because you forced yourself to change, but because you allowed yourself to grow gently, 1% at a time. My friends, not all improvements in life are visible. Some of the most powerful transformations happen in the way we speak, the way we listen, the way we react, and the way we understand others. Relationships are not strengthened by big promises or grand gestures done once in a while. They are strengthened by tiny acts of care repeated daily. Many people believe that to improve a relationship, they must do something big, buy an expensive gift, plan a surprise, or say something dramatic. But relationships do not grow because of occasional excitement. They grow because of daily attention. A relationship is like a plant. If you pour a bucket of water on it once a week, but ignore it the rest of the time, it will not survive. But if you give it a little water every day, it grows naturally. This is where the 1% rule becomes very powerful emotionally. Speak a little softer today. Listen a little more today. Show a little more patience today. Judge a little less today. These actions seem too small to matter, but repeated daily, they change the emotional environment between two people. Many conflicts in relationships do not happen because of big issues. They happen because of small, repeated behavior, small, harsh words, small moments of neglect, small acts of impatience. Just as negative actions compound, positive emotional actions also compound. Imagine deciding that every day you will give one genuine compliment to your partner, your parent, your friend, or your colleague. One sentence. That's all. At first it feels small. But over time, that person begins to feel seen, valued, and appreciated. Trust builds. Warmth increases. Or imagine deciding that every day you will listen without interrupting for just 5 minutes. Not giving advice, not judging, just listening. This simple act can heal misunderstandings that have existed for years. Most people don't listen to understand. They listen to reply. But when you make a small daily effort to truly listen, the other person feels respected. And respect is the foundation of every healthy relationship. The 1% rule also teaches you emotional control. Instead of trying to become a perfectly calm person overnight, you simply decide that today, in one situation, you will respond more patiently than usual. Just one situation. That's all. Tomorrow you do the same. Slowly this becomes your nature. Anger does not disappear in a day, but reducing it by 1% daily changes how you react over time. Forgiveness also works this way. You don't have to forgive someone completely in one moment. You just begin by reducing the bitterness slightly each day. You choose not to replay the hurt in your mind as often. You choose to think of it a little less, and gradually the emotional weight becomes lighter. Small emotional improvements make your heart peaceful. You also begin to notice how often we take people for granted. We assume they know we care. We assume they understand our love. But unexpressed care often feels like indifference to the other person. A small daily message, a small check-in call, a small "how are you" can make a huge difference. These are not dramatic acts, but they build emotional security. When someone feels emotionally secure with you, the relationship becomes strong without effort. The 1% rule also helps in difficult relationships. Instead of trying to fix everything at once, you focus on one small improvement. Maybe today you will not bring up old mistakes. Maybe today you will avoid one unnecessary argument. Maybe today you will choose silence instead of reacting. These small choices prevent damage, and preventing damage is as important as building connection. Over time, you realize that relationships are not damaged by big fights. They are damaged by small daily neglect, and they are healed by small daily care. Even with yourself, the 1% rule matters emotionally. Speak to yourself a little more kindly today. Criticize yourself a little less today. Appreciate yourself for one small effort today. Your relationship with yourself affects every other relationship in your life. When you are emotionally calm within, you respond calmly to others. When you are harsh with yourself, you become harsh with people around you. Small emotional improvements inside you reflect in your behavior outside. You start becoming more aware of your tone, your words, and your reactions. You begin to pause before speaking. You begin to think before reacting. Not because you forced yourself, but because you practice small control daily. And one day, you realize that people feel comfortable around you. They feel heard. They feel respected. They feel valued. Not because you did something extraordinary, but because you practiced 1% kindness, 1% patience, 1% understanding every single day. My friends, the most fascinating part of the 1% rule is that the transformation it creates is almost invisible while it is happening. You do not wake up one morning and suddenly feel like a different person. There is no dramatic moment, no loud realization, no clear turning point. Instead, the change happens so quietly and gradually that you only recognize it when you look back. This is what makes the 1% rule so powerful and so underestimated at the same time. When you improve a little every day, the progress feels too small to celebrate. It feels ordinary. It feels like nothing special is happening. And because it feels ordinary, you are able to continue without pressure. You are able to keep going without expecting immediate rewards. But beneath this ordinary routine, something extraordinary is taking place. Your habits are shifting. Your mindset is evolving. Your discipline is strengthening. Your emotional responses are softening. Your confidence is growing. And all of this is happening without noise, without stress, and without forcing yourself. You may not notice it today. You may not notice it next week. But one day, you will face a situation that would have disturbed you deeply in the past, and you will handle it calmly. You will be surprised at your own reaction. You will wonder, when did I become this patient? You may look at your daily routine and realize that you are now more organized, more focused, and more consistent than before. And you won't remember the exact day this change happened, because it did not happen in one day. It happened through small actions repeated so many times that they became part of who you are. This is the invisible nature of real growth. It does not announce itself. It does not seek attention. It simply becomes your new normal. Think about how a child grows. If you see the child every day, you don't notice the growth. But if you meet the child after a year, the difference is obvious. Growth was happening daily, but it was too gradual to observe. The same happens with you. When you follow the 1% rule, you are growing every single day. But because you see yourself daily, you don't notice the change. Others may notice it before you do. They may say, you seem calmer now, you seem more confident, you seem more disciplined. And you may not even realize when this transformation took place. Another beautiful aspect of this invisible transformation is that it feels natural. You don't feel like you are forcing yourself to be someone else. You feel like you are simply becoming a better version of who you already are. There is no internal resistance. There is no feeling of pretending. There is no exhaustion from trying too hard. Because the change was gentle and gradual, it feels authentic. You also begin to trust the process of growth. Earlier, you may have doubted whether small actions matter. But after experiencing the results over time, you develop faith in consistency. You understand deeply that progress does not need to be dramatic to be meaningful. This faith removes impatience from your life. You stop chasing quick results. You stop looking for shortcuts. You become comfortable with steady improvement. And this comfort brings peace. The invisible transformation also builds resilience. Because you have practiced small discipline daily, you are better prepared to handle bigger challenges. Your mind has become stronger without you realizing it. It is like slowly strengthening a muscle. You don't notice the muscle getting stronger each day, but one day you realize you can lift more weight than before. Similarly, one day you realize you can handle more stress, more responsibility, and more pressure without feeling overwhelmed. And you didn't attend any special training for this. You simply practiced 1% improvement daily. Perhaps the most satisfying part of this journey is the moment you reflect on your past. You look at the person you used to be, your habits, your reactions, your mindset, and you notice a clear difference. Not because of one big decision, but because of hundreds of small decisions. You feel proud. Not loud pride, but quiet satisfaction. You realize that you did not change your life through sudden motivation. You changed it through daily commitment. And this realization gives you a deep sense of confidence. Because now you know a secret that many people don't understand. Transformation does not require dramatic action. It requires small, repeated effort. The 1% rule teaches you that greatness is built silently. Success grows quietly. And real change happens without noise. One day, without even realizing it, you become the person you once wished to be. And when you try to remember how it happened, you will not find one big moment to point to. You will only find many small days where you chose to be just a little better than the day before. My friends, as we come to the end of this journey together, I want you to pause for a moment and reflect not on what you must do tomorrow, not on how much you need to change, but on how small the first step can truly be. We often believe that to transform our lives, we must make bold decisions, dramatic changes, and powerful declarations. But today, you have seen a different path, a quieter path, a gentler path, a path that does not demand perfection, only progress. The 1% rule is not about pressure. It is about patience. It is not about speed. It is about consistency. It is not about becoming extraordinary overnight. It is about becoming slightly better every single day. And that is something every one of us can do. You don't need more motivation. You don't need more time. You don't need perfect conditions. You only need a small decision today. A decision so small that your mind cannot reject it. A step so simple that you cannot make excuses. Walk for 5 minutes. Read one page. Speak one kind word. Save a small amount. Control one negative reaction. Just 1%. Because when you do this daily, something beautiful begins to happen. You stop waiting for life to change. You start changing with life. You stop dreaming about a better future. You start building it quietly, one day at a time. And one day, you will look back and realize that you did not chase success. You did not force growth. You simply respected small actions. And those small actions respected you back by transforming your life. So, my friends, don't leave this moment inspired. Leave this moment committed to one small improvement today. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Today. Because the secret to a transformed life is hidden in the smallest actions you choose to repeat. And remember, you are always just 1% away from becoming a better version of yourself.